sown on stony ground, who, when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness, and have no root in themselves, and so endure but for a time. Afterward, when affliction or persecution ariseth for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. So these people, they have the right attitude towards the word of God. They received it with joy. They honored the word of God. They have understood the word of God, and they are happy about it. They are rejoicing in the word, which is good, which is how you should receive the word of God. What they did after receiving the word of God is the point in question here. See, the devil cannot just take away the word of God from the heart of somebody who has understanding about what the word of God is saying. So now he has to somehow convince you to let go of the word. So he brings on persecution and trouble to threaten you, right? To convince you somehow that the word of God is not working. See, he wants to bring trouble in your life. For example, let's say you are believing God for healing, or you are believing God for prosperity, increase, growth. And then you see that your life is declining. Your finances are declining. Your business might be declining, right? Things may be happening contrary to what you have been expecting. You may be believing God for healing, but your health may be going down. Instead of getting better, you might become worse. So, see, the devil is trying to tempt you to let go of the word. He wants to convince you it's not worth it to hold on to the word. This word of God does not work. There's no point in believing this. There is no point in trusting this. Yeah, God said something, but today, practically, will it work? I don't think it's going to work. See, he wants to somehow convince you through troubles and persecutions to let go of the word of God. He does not want you to hold fast to the word and bring forth fruit, bring forth results, bring forth glorious testimonies. Now, he doesn't want that. He wants you to let go of it so that the word will not produce anything in your life. He wants to convince you to let go of the word. All of us have experienced these kind of things at some level. You might have seen certain believers when they received Jesus Christ, they go around saying, hey, before I received Jesus Christ, everything was okay. I was happy. I had no problems. But from the time I received Jesus, I have had so many problems, right? I had all kinds of trouble come. People are persecuting me. I don't want to hold on to Jesus. See, that's the devil at work. See, he's trying to bring persecution. He is trying to bring some trouble to convince you that faith in Jesus does not work. He wants you to let go of Jesus. He doesn't want you to hold on to Jesus, right, and become better in life and to fulfill the plan of God. He doesn't want you to go to heaven. So he wants to convince you to forsake Jesus, right? See, that's the same method. It's the same thing that the devil does, even concerning other blessings, not just salvation. He employs the same method to convince you to let go of healing. He employs the same procedure to convince you to let go of prosperity or increase. He uses the same method to convince you to let go of any other blessing that God has promised you in His Word. So we don't want to end up as this stony heart kind of people. We want to function like the good heart people, right? We want to bring forth the harvest, a 30 and a 60 and 100-fold. So that's why we are studying about this. So we began to study about the example given in the Bible. Let's go to Genesis chapter 15. We looked at a promise made by God to Abraham in Genesis chapter 15. Here God is speaking to Abraham concerning his future generations. See, this is one of the most important passages in the entire Bible. Right? This is a covenant, an everlasting covenant made between God and Abraham, which opened the door for everything else, for the birth of the nation of Israel, for the inheritance of Israel, for the birth of the Messiah, for the salvation, the redemption of mankind. This is a key passage in the whole Bible. You want to get familiar with this passage. Let's look at verse 13. Genesis chapter 15 and verse 13. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve I will judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. So we see how God had promised deliverance for Israel even before they ever entered into slavery. See, that's our God. Our God is Jehovah Jireh, the Lord who sees ahead of time and provides the answer for our needs, for our problems. Our God is a good God. So, Israelites, when they entered into slavery, they were not without hope. God had already promised them that He would judge Egypt. He would bring them out. They had hope. They had something to hold on to. Even though their circumstances were bad, even though their circumstances were terrible, they had something to hold on to. Right? Look at this. Let's go to Exodus. In Exodus chapter 1, we know how God had blessed Israel greatly and they multiplied. Let's read from verse 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. So see, God is being faithful. God is doing what He promised. If you go and study Genesis chapter 17, God promised Abraham, I will make you exceeding fruitful. Right? You don't need to turn there. I will read it from Genesis chapter 17. God makes this great covenant with Abraham in chapter 17. Now, this is again another important passage in the Bible. This is one of those foundational passages in the Bible. You ought to know this. Genesis chapter 17 verse 2 onwards. I will make my covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall your name any more be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful. I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. So God has made this great promise, and you will see again while speaking to Jacob in Genesis chapter 46, God says this. Genesis chapter 46 verse 3. And he said, I am God, the God of your father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation. I will go down with thee into Egypt. And notice, and I will also surely bring thee up again. Notice how God has sworn a blessing, how God has given them a word already. They had hope. They had something to anchor their soul upon. They had it. See, they could hold on to this word and walk with God, and God would bring them out. God had given them His holy, eternal, ever-enduring word. Do you see this? Yeah?